the zoning permit will be issued upon satisfactory completion of the following zoning requirements. And I'll just number them for the record. It will be 153.04 permitted signs, 156.024 required buffer screening, 156.026 off-street parking, 156.124 proposed sewage treatment, and I have several that I will comment when we get into discussion that aren't really requirements for this project, and I will go into these in more detail when we get to discussion. So my motion would be to approve this project conditionally.
Okay, we have a motion to approve conditionally. Do we have a second for that? We don't have a second.
Mayor,
Go ahead, Steve.
did you get a motion?
Yes, Commissioner King made a motion to approve with conditions.
Conditions, what conditions?
Well, I'll read them again, but I'll go into detail when we get into discussion. The conditions, 153.04 permitted signs, 156.024 required screening and buffer, 156.026 off-street parking, 156.124 proposed sewage, and there's several other ones that the planning board brought up that aren't really requirements for this project. I discussed those also.
Mike, I think it appropriate here is to make a motion to accept the site plan with what the planning board sent to us, and then if you got anything to add, I think it would be appropriate to do so once we make the motion to accept the site plan. Does that make sense?
No, my motion is just to approve it conditionally because the planning board didn't address those issues that I just addressed.
Well, you've got a motion on the table, so I won't interfere with that.
But we don't have a second.
My question with that, Mike, my question with this is, can it be put up as a motion? Well, I know it can be put up as a motion to make it conditionally, to get it back to the planning board? Or we're just voting on the site plan itself, correct?
If I could comment on that, I will.
Please.
The points that I want to raise in this were missed by the planning board, and they also put in some requirements that aren't really requirements of the project if you read the ordinance. When you do one of these projects, the developer invests lots of money to move the project forward. And what they need to know is the project going to move forward with this board, or is it stalled? And what I wanted to do was conditionally prove it with attached conditions, okay? So that they can have confidence moving forward that if they do these things, it'll be approved, rather than sending it back in the planning board to start all over again.
Yeah, but Mike, we need to approve it based on what the planning board sent us first, and then enter in discussion. Is what I'm trying to say.
You don't have to do that, Steve. They're an advisory board.
I understand that, but you're making a motion, but you're not. Okay, never mind.
All right. I see what Mike has done. I'm just thinking to simplify this so we can get a second move on. If you withdraw that and just say, and then we can bring that up. in the discussion to add those to the provisions.
That's all I'm asking.
Right, and then we can add that in the discussion at the end on the vote. So just to make the motion more simple, just to say that to approve the plan with provisions to be discussed. Does that make sense?
Well, isn't that what I said?
Well, you listed them out, but I'm just saying.
We're asked to accept the planning board's findings here, and Mike's wanting to add to them, and I'm thinking he's putting the cart before the horse.
Well, we just simply have a motion. To get to the discussion part, I think we need a way to go. To approve let me see, read this again. To approve the commercial site plan for Starbucks with conditions. If somebody needs, then Mike would have to retract his motion to make a new motion.
No, I don't. If I don't get a second, then somebody else has to make a motion.
Okay, so nobody seconds. Anybody else like to make a motion?
Yes, I go ahead and make a motion to consider Starbucks commercial site plan, and to enter into discussion of to that effect.
We do have a second for that motion.
What motion
And there-
is on the table? What motion is on the
Would you
table right
repeat
now?
that? Commissioner Martin, would you repeat that?
Commissioner Miller, are you asking what the motion is?
I am.
Commissioner-
What is the motion right now that we're looking
Okay.
for?
I think there it should be, make a motion to enter into discussion for consideration of the Starbucks commercial site plan. Just so we can enter into the discussion phase of it. Approving the site plan that Starbucks has submitted, contingent on, the discussion part of it.
That was my motion.
Well,
That's what
it-
Mike said.
It's not.
Would somebody like to second that, and we'll move into a discussion?
That all we want to do is get in discussion, but Mike wanted to add to what the planning board, the agenda item is what on the planning board has action the planning board has taken. The planning board has got 4 issues here they want addressed, but they want to recommend the site plan for Starbucks to go ahead and start building. But they want to address those 4 issues. Mike wants to add more right off the bat. I just want to address the 4 that the planning board has concern with, and then listen to what Mr. King has to say.
I'll
So do
second
I-
that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. All right, now let's open it up for discussion. Commissioner King, would you like to start the discussion?
Okay. First of all, 153.04 permitted signs is required by ordinance. I'm not going to go into the detail of each of the ordinances, but you have to read 153.04, and the final design must comply with 153.04. That was not noted by the planning board. The next item is 156.024, item subparagraph C and D. There's required screening buffers. Building size dictates a 1-row screen on McLean Boulevard, as well as other vegetative buffers on Hardy's side and the driveway side. A sheet showing the landscaping plan would be very helpful, and that would be easy for everybody to see what is required of 156.024. 156.026, and you can refer to Appendix B. The plat designates a 148-seat restaurant, thus requiring 37 parking places. I count 35, and I'm okay with that, but that seems somewhat arbitrary. But I question whether this will be a 148-seat restaurant. If not, the parking requirements change significantly, allowing far more flexibility in the design of the overall plan. Off-street parking. Also, Section C3 requires a 6% interior planning requirement, a buffer on adjoining properties, and the landscaping plan ought to show the calculation for the 6% interior planning requirement. The proposed sewage treatment plant, I saw the addition to that, which showed apparently a lift station on the site pumping 600 to 700 feet to a septic field up and back of the shopping center. I think what we need to have is a sewage treatment plant permit from the Carteret County Environmental Health in hand before we go ahead. And I'm sure that the developer is aware of that, but we need to have that in hand. There was a couple of things that the planning board mentioned that are not requirements. They spent a lot of time on stormwater, and this site is less than an acre, and there's no requirement for a stormwater permit. Now, there's possibilities you could to contain some stormwater on the site, but nothing is required of the ordinance, so we don't have to even hear that. The hike bike trail is resolved. There's not a requirement for that. And also the building size requirement was recently changed from 40 to 55 feet, and it said on the plat 55 feet, but this is just a curiosity point. I very much doubt that the Starbucks will be 55 feet. So all we need to do is get the details included on the site plan of the things that I had mentioned, and I will work directly with anybody that wants to work to point these out. And those are the things I give conditional approval for.
All right. Any other discussion, comments? Mr. Waters, I'll start with you.
I'm ready to move forward with the planning of this Starbucks building. Plain and simple.
All right. Commissioner Nailitz, do you have any comments?
No, I'm. Is anybody from the developer have any responses?
Hey, good evening. This is Jason Swain. I'm with Swain and Associates. We own the shopping center and own this piece of property and are planning to develop Starbucks. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions. I have worked with Commissioner King. He called last week and shared a number of thoughts and concerns. And we worked pretty diligently with our engineer and our engineering firm, Paramount Engineering, to modify the site plan, to add notations to the site plan and address as many of those concerns as we can. And I'm certainly in agreement to continue working as we go through to make sure that all of the outstanding issues are resolved prior to us breaking ground, of course. I guess in a general sense, I would say we have enjoyed, just so you know, we're in Wilmington. We're based in Wilmington, but have owned the shopping center, bought it from the McLean family a number of years ago, and have enjoyed being a part of the community and are really proud of the shopping center that we all have there. We really believe that the demolition of the PNC and the addition of Starbucks to the community is going to be a very good thing for everybody. We think it'll be a catalyst for us so that we can continue to attract and draw good quality businesses to the community. I know that's important for the tax base, and it's important for us as members of the community and owners of the shopping center as well. So we, as always, we thank you supporting us, for supporting the shopping center, and we hope that the things that we're doing in the heart of Cape Carteret make the community proud.
All right, thank you, Jason. You got any questions for him, Jim, or any other comments?
No.
All right, Commissioner Miller, comments or questions?
No further questions.
All right. Commissioner Martin. Cut your mic on, Steve.
Yes, I want to move forward with a conditional approval of the site plan. My only question is, are we Mike, are we taking the planning board completely out of this, or are you going to work with them on those issues that you brought up?
Sorry for that.
Steve, I just don't see any point in this. The things that I mentioned are pretty simple they're straightforward. There's no showstoppers in here.
Yeah, but we're not, I don't want to stop the procedure. I want to move forward, but at the same time, this is an in-house thing. It's something you and I need to discuss. We're sitting here with a virtual meeting. We don't have access to all those ordinances you're discussing. At what time are we going to know they've been taken care of and what they are indeed?
Okay.
That's only fair to ask. I mean,
Well,
are we just going to take your word for it as another commissioner that you're going to take care of all this, or what?
no, before a town manager can issue their zoning permit, if we go ahead and approve this conditionally with the conditions that I mentioned, the town manager, when those conditions are met, he will issue the zoning permit. I don't know what else to say. I went through that.
Well, maybe I just need to ask Mr. Swain. Mr. Swain, do you have a problem with any of the items that Commissioner King has added to the plate here?
Thanks so much for the question. I don't think I do. Mr. King has shared with me his concerns, and I think that we've addressed most of these things. There are several things like the pylon sign, which will be designed a little bit further down the road, the landscape plan, which will be produced a little bit further down the road. So I'm pretty much in agreement with what the planning board suggested and what Mr. King has as well. And I think that in working cooperatively with my engineer, with Zach and everybody else at the town, I think that we'll be able to live with and move forward with what's been proposed this evening. So I'm in agreement for y'all's approval.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that, Mr. Swain. So I'm gonna rely on our town manager to make sure that he's available to answer any of the questions that you have and help this process go through simply, easily.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that very much. Very much.
All right, anybody got any more questions or comments, especially for Jason? If not, then we'll move to the vote.
I have one thing I want to ask.
All right, go ahead.
Mr. Sway, this is Jeff Waters, one of the commissioners. You there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Just a question for you. Are you or either Starbucks entertaining the idea of adding a sidewalk out in front of the business itself?
Yes, so this was asked of me at the planning board level too, and I'll tell you this: I'm not in a position when this deal originally came to me, and for quite some time prior to it ending up here before you all this evening, I had to reach my arrangement with Starbucks, and so I've got my arrangement with Starbucks, which is the general plan that you see now. I'll tell you what I can do, although I don't have any flexibility on our end and on Starbucks end to add the pedestrian trail myself. What I would be willing to do is I would be willing to agree to give the town a perpetual easement along the front portion of my property, so that if the town saw fit at any point in time that it wanted to install that and then maintain it, I would be more than happy to allow for that at certainly at no expense. So we've done that. I've done that in Wilmington on several of our projects as well, where the city wanted to later extend sidewalks, or in one situation, a similar hike bike trail. And what I did is we reserved land along the front and just said it's one of the conditions of approval that if the town ever wanted to come back and do that, we would allow that to be done.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, if there's no more questions or comments, then we'll move on. For the vote, I'll start with Commissioner Martin.
Yes.
Commissioner King?
This is to conditionally approve, yes.
Yes. All right. Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Nalens?
yes,
And Commissioner Waters?
Yes.
All right, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Jason, for your comments and your being here this evening.
Yes, sir. If I may, I just want to thank the board very much. Like I said earlier, we really appreciate the opportunity to do business in your community. And my phone I'm always available by phone if you ever have any questions or thoughts, or have anybody that you want me to try to attract to the town. I'm more than happy to go to bat, try to do that. We believe in the community and are very, very thankful to be a part of it. So with that said, I thank you all, and I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday season.
Thank you, sir. You as well.
My wife wants a Chick-fil-A.
Commissioner Waters requested a Chick-fil-A. That'd be nice. Okay.
Sure, it'll be top of my list.
Yeah. All right, next. We have a consideration of the Cape Carteret Trail Capital Project Budget Amendment. Zach.
All right. The town of Cape Carteret has received several charitable contributions to the Cape Carteret Trail project, which need to be reflected in the capital project budget for the trail through a budget amendment. The anticipated remaining engineering and design costs for the trail also need to be reflected in the Cape Carteret Trail project budget. The following amendments are recommended for the Cape Carteret Trail capital project budget. Amend the estimated revenues as follows: private donations increased by $44,015, interest $11 for a total of $44,026. Amend the estimated appropriations as follows: engineering expenses $32,600, and construction, this would be set aside for future construction expenses, so not expended at the present time, but for the future, $11,426, which brings the total to $44,026. The Board of Commissioners are asked to consider approving Budget Amendment 2020.2021.7 for the capital project budget ordinance for the Cape Carteret Trail. And the budget amendment is also on the screen now.
All right, do I have a motion to approve this budget amendment?
I'll make that motion.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jim. Any discussion? If no discussion, I'll do a vote. We'll start with Commissioner Martin.
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner Nalens?
yes,
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
And Commissioner Waters?
Yes.
All right, motion carries. All right, next up is the presentation of the due diligence findings and request for direction from board commissioners on the Lejeune Road property. Zach?
All right, thank you, Mayor Baker. The town of Cape Carteret has taken a variety of steps to perform due diligence on the property located at 305 Lejeune Road and the Lejeune Road Street End over the past several months. The Board of Commissioners voted 4-1 at the November 9th, 2020 Board of Commissioners meeting to delay discussion on the seller financing terms for 305 Lejeune Road for the 305 Lejeune Road property until due diligence had been completed. The findings of the due diligence process are summarized below. We acquired a survey of 305 Lejeune Road and the surrounding property, which was completed by Brent Lanier of Lanier Surveying Company. It was completed on November 4th, 2020, and I'll get to that in just a moment. I'll go through these items first and then get to the attachment. The site plan for potential boat ramp, John Freshwater has prepared a site plan that complies with all applicable local, state, and federal requirements. The site plan was developed and subsequently amended based on the feedback received in the regulatory scoping meeting and through discussions with regulatory officials. Research on the ownership history of parcels. The town completed research on the ownership history of the subject property. We'll get to that in just a moment. Title search was conducted by Michael Lincoln, and he performed a title search on the subject property. There were no issues that were discovered during the title search for the subject property. We had an interagency scoping meeting with the applicable regulatory agencies. That meeting took place on August 24th at 11 a.m. to discuss the project scope, requirements, and other pertinent information. The required permits for the project would be a CAMA major permit, a stormwater and erosion control permit, and a building permit. And those permits would vary based off of what steps or what is desired for the site. Analysis of SAV, submerged aquatic vegetation, that is in the vicinity of the site. So we have a map showing the areas where submerged aquatic vegetation is located in proximity to the site. Analysis of formerly built upon area, or BUA, for stormwater. We have attached photographs demonstrating previous uses of the site, and we also have our intention there would be to capture previously used and currently used impervious area to claim that towards our allowance for impervious area calculation. So we'll get to that map in just a moment to show where those current impervious and previously impervious areas are on the site. Analysis of the current site conditions. The timber bulkhead that extends along the eastern portion of the property is in poor condition and will need to be replaced soon. There are areas where portions of the timber are missing and where the ground behind the bulkhead is being held in place by landscape fabric. The anticipated cost for replacement of the bulkhead is between $50,000 to $100,000. Previous estimate for the replacement was in the $50,000 range. However, pricing has likely increased since that estimate was obtained. Future development costs of the boat ramp, boardwalk, and parking on the property, if that is desired, would likely cost somewhere in the ballpark of $350,000 to $450,000. In order to determine the exact cost, estimates would need to be obtained, and a final design and plan would have to be identified and established. Some of the additional purchase information is that the purchase price for the property is $304,000. This includes a due diligence fee of $3,050, finance amount of $250,950, and a suggested down payment of $50,000. The town also has the end of Lejeune Road, which is the street end, under contract for $1,000. And that's a separate contract from the contract to purchase the 305 Lejeune Road property. The estimated annual cost, we anticipate that the annual debt service payment would be $57,481.27. The property tax that we would pay on the property would be $1,332.42. Maintenance cost, $1,200, which would be a total annual expense of around $60,013.69. The requested action from the Board of Commissioners is to provide direction to town staff on how to proceed regarding the property located at 305 Lejeune Road, and also on how to proceed regarding the Lejeune Road street end. So we'll go ahead and run through the attachment. So on the screen now is the contract, and scroll through that. All right, we're at the contingent sale addendum. So I'll point out here that the buyer's offer to purchase is contingent upon approval by the Town of Cape Carteret Board of Commissioners. So I just want to point that out to everybody, that there was some discussion and some confusion about that. This contract is contingent upon approval by the Board of Commissioners. So I just wanted to point out that provision in the contingent sale addendum. We did a contract amendment, which amended the due diligence period to December 31st, 2020. So that's when the due diligence period will be up on the property. We also made some clarifications in the contingent sale addendum about the stipulations for the future uses of the property. All right, so on the screen now is a site plan that shows a concept of how a boat ramp could be configured on the site if that's what would be desired. This was based off of the feedback we got from the regulatory agencies. You can see that the approach of the boat ramp is at a slight angle there, which it would alleviate any impact to the coastal wetlands there on the north side of that basin. This retains the existing ferry house to remain in place, and it also has some pervious parking here. You can see the area that's shown in white created right there. So these would be parking spaces along this segment, and then some additional boat trailer parking up on this side. Here is the title opinion for the property, so we'll move through that unless there's any specific questions. Some information like the plat showing the location of the property. Through here, there's some documentation that deals with the ownership of the different segments. So if we need to, we can get more specific into that, but that's some information on who owns what there. All right, here's some historic site imagery that shows the former use of the property. So you can see, I believe that's one of the ferries docks there. You can see Lejeune Road here and all the buildings and impervious area that were situated on the site. So what our intention, if we were to move forward on this, would be to capture some of that original impervious to count towards the maximum impervious area for the lot. Here's another image that shows one of the ferries coming into the end of Lejeune Road, and it shows the configuration of the impervious structures that were on the site. And here's another two views here that show the configuration. You can see Lejeune Road, Bayshore Drive, Edgewater, and here's another shot here. So these were in the, I believe in the NCDOT State Archives. Here's the survey for the lot. So the 305 Lejeune Road track starts up here, comes down. So it comes all the way down here to the end of Lejeune Road. And then the Lejeune Road street end parcel is shown here in that darker outline. So this would be what the other $1,000 contract is for. And then this is for the primary property right here. So that's the location of the old ferry house right there. Here's another view of the conceptual site plan of how it could be laid out. Shows the proposed boat ramp there leading into the water, proposed boat trailer parking areas, some additional parking here, and a proposed boardwalk along the bulkhead leading from where the boat ramp launch is down to the end. Now this is just conceptual with what could be fit on there. It could just be a park. So really not suggesting one way or another with what direction to go on that, but just possibilities of how it could be laid out and just showing what feasibly could be done in the future. Here's some calculations based off the historical imagery on the site, orange showing the on-site impervious area and yellow showing the off-site impervious. Here's a resolution from when the town previously owned the street end, and Before that, it was DOT that I guess that had control over it, and then basically conveyed that back to, I believe, to Paxton Holtz or to the McLean family. So here's that resolution that was passed by the board back in 1977. All right, and here's a map that shows some of the detail on where the SAVs are located. That's submerged aquatic vegetation. So you can see Hunting Island there. You can see the end of Bayshore Drive. And then the subject property would be located right here, if you can see my mouse. So there aren't any SAVs around that bulkhead or at the end of Lejeune Road based off of the SAV survey. And I believe that's all the documentation I have on the project, so I'd be happy to answer any questions or get into the specifics. Like I said, these conceptual plans were developed to see how things could fit onto the lot. It's not a suggestion that that's how the town would proceed in any way. It could just be a park. It could be, you know, whatever the town and the Board of Commissioners desires it to be. However, in doing the due diligence, we did want to see which configurations would work on the lot and also to get that feedback from the regulatory agencies, which is why the plan was developed, to make sure that we had a full understanding of what was possible on the site. So with that, I'll open up to any questions. If there's any specific documents that y'all want to look at further or any questions about the due diligence.
I have a question, Zach. At our last board meeting, was there not a motion made to table the financing vote until tonight?
Yes, that's correct. The board voted to table the. Yeah.
And then tonight, that's not on the agenda. You're asking for direction. I'm confused when you were directed to postpone the vote on the financing until tonight. However, I'm ready to put this up for an up and down vote if need be, but I wanted to point that out to you.
I appreciate you pointing that out. I think the reason why it would be on the agenda tonight is that the due diligence does expire at the end of December. So we do need direction one way or another of how the board wishes to proceed on this item. That's why it's on the agenda.
I understand that. I do understand that, Zach, but at the same time, the Board of Commissioners tabled the vote on financing the project. You understand? Okay, I do understand what you want to do here, but it was against the wishes of the Board of Commissioners at the last meeting.
Yeah, I'd respectfully disagree with that. You know, what I'm asking for this evening is direction from the Board of Commissioners on how to proceed. That includes if the board wanted to take a vote on the seller financing component of this, or if the board wants to take a vote on the entire project to provide direction on how to proceed. So respectfully, I would disagree with that, but I would ask that the board provide direction.
Well, since we're getting in this conversation, Zach, I just want to air this out in front of the public's eye here. We went into closed session back in the summer and gave you authority to pursue a contract on this property and provide due diligence findings to the board, which tonight, here we are talking due diligence when we should have been talking that a long time ago before the financing vote. Getting due diligence findings from you, Zach, I hate to say this in public, but I compare it to a dripping faucet, one drop at a time. And now all of a sudden, tonight, we have to do this, we have to do that. But I'm fine. I'm ready to put it to an up and down vote, Zach.
Well, Commissioner King, you want to say something?
Well, I disagree. The due diligence on this particular project was immense. All of the issues of property ownership and whether we could get stormwater permits and camera permits took a long time to get it. So I'm happy with the due diligence that's been done, and I'm prepared, being that the end of our contract for due diligence expires at the end of this year. I'm prepared to make a motion on this this property.
All right, so is there a motion by anybody?
I'll make a motion that we authorize the town manager to proceed with execution of the existing real estate contract for both parcels of land on Lejeune Road. Financing can be arranged for a 50% down payment and the balance financed over 3 years by the owner at 2.5%, 2.75%, excuse me.
All right, is there a second?
50%.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
50,000, not 50%.
50,000, not 50%.
No, I said a 50% down payment and the balance financed over 3 years by the owner at 2.75%.
So 50% of 304,000 is 152,000 down payment?
Yes,
That wasn't the financing originally. It was 50,000 with $250,000 over 3 years.
that's right. My motion is different than that we had back in November.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I don't like paying interest.
All right, so do we have a second? There's no second for this motion.
We not have discussion before we vote on this?
He's got to have a second. If not, then we'll entertain another motion.
So we can have discussion if Lars can have a second. Correct. Yep, educate me here, okay?
So with his making a motion, if you want to discuss it based on the motion he
No
made,
matter what the motion is, we can discuss.
right, you need to second it to discuss it.
To get to discussion.
Okay, well, I'm going to make a second on that motion due to the reason I want to hear discussions on that, not that I agree with it or not, okay?
All right, so now that we have a second, it's open up for discussion. Comments, I'll just go down the line. So I'll start with Commissioner Miller. Commissioner Miller, do you have any comments?
I'm in favor of looking to go forward with this. I don't know that I'm in favor of the motion that's been presented with the 50% down. I don't know that I could vote to approve that, but I believe that the due diligence has been done. I think we've got the information in front of us. This is a good piece of property. And there are going to be people argue, is it good? Is it bad? Does the area flood? Well, all of that part of Cape Carteret floods during a hurricane. But the reality is we're looking at a piece of waterfront property that this town could own to maybe someday have a boat ramp. It doesn't mean we're going to put a boat ramp. We may not ever put a boat ramp there. We may build the thing up, put a park there, and may never need a boat ramp. But we would have, if we had it, we would have it where we knew we could put a ramp there should we want to in the future. So I am in favor of going forward with this. I don't know that I'm not in favor of the motion as presented. I don't know that I'm in favor of putting 50% down. So, but I'm definitely in favor of going forward with this. Under different, not under this motion, but under different, maybe as presented initially with 50,000 down and then financing the rest.
Okay, is that all you got, Don?
Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, Commissioner Nalitz?
I am not inclined to approve this motion or the whole concept of acquiring additional real estate for the town. It's an outlay that may or may not produce anything other than a park. And if we do, then the outlay is going to be doubled or tripled to do the development that's been suggested. I mean, the whole thing, we're not buying this for a park. We're buying this for a boat ramp. That's been the issue all along, for a boat ramp. And it's going to end up pretty expensive when we don't need one at least for 11 years. Oh, well, let's buy it now and we'll just hang on to it and lose the taxes that we would be getting from it. I don't think we should do it. I don't think there's any way you can structure this thing that I would approve of. There's a number of reasons, including the impact on the neighborhood, the increase in taxes, the fact that we're competing with a private section, a private ramp across the creek, the fact that within a couple of years we're going to have 3 wildlife ramps within 5 miles of this place. And we will have the manatee ramp for at least another 11 years. So no, I'm not in favor.
All right, thank you, Jim. Commissioner Martin.
Yes, you know, we're sitting here, we scratch our heads and we work hard every budget process to come up with enough money to fund services for our town without a tax increase. And here we are talking about, just so the public understands, according to Zach, it's a 1.56 cent tax increase if we purchase this property, with a potential of $450,000 extra in improvements on this property. When we're sitting here with a fleet of police vehicles that's rapidly approaching the end of their life, we have pavement crumbling all the way around us here, culverts compromised, flooding issues, and not to mention the fact that this town has been incorporated 60 years and no one, previous commissioners, and that includes, and I told this to Paxton the other night on the phone. She was a commissioner. Nobody has bothered to talk about purchasing waterfront property in the 60 years this town has been incorporated. Now all of a sudden it's a mad rush to buy a piece of property when Paxton Holtz just told the whole board and the public that our lease is good on the manatee property till 2031. I'm all about owning waterfront property, but the timing on this is completely wrong. And the fact that like Commissioner Nalitz alluded to, it's been talked about as a boat ramp facility from the start, and you cannot have 2 boat ramps in one man-made canal without problems. It's not going to happen. I know what I'm talking about. There's so many more reasons I could name, but I'm not going to bore the board. The bottom line is I'm a no matter which way this is presented to me. Thank you.
All right, Steve. Mr. Waters.
Well, let me make myself clear on something. I second this motion due to the fact so we could go into some discussion and hear what everybody's comments was. When we first came across my table, and I'm being transparent about this tremendously, every commissioner was on board about looking at moving forward and getting this property because it was something new, something to look at. That was the reason why. Since we've gotten into this idea of purchasing property, there have been more things brought to light as far as the purchasing of it, not purchasing of it, the best pros and cons with this, street-wise, width, not, is it wide enough? Is the street available to do it? Is the waterway available to do it? Do we have money to do it with? There's a lot of things that come to par. Now, when I ran the platform for commissioner, I stated I did not want to see taxes raised in the town for any reason, because what we're going into, the economy, what's going on in our society and our world today. Now, as I continue on saying with this, is we do have issues within the town pertaining to stormwater. Our streets need bringing up to par and to regulation needs. There's a lot of things we need to look at. Would I like to see the town have some property such as this for a park? Absolutely. Would I love to see maybe a boat ramp down the road? Maybe so. But let's take it as a whole, as a town, as we look at it, not one individual here or one individual there. We need to look at it as a whole. If we went this direction of purchasing this property, taxes have to go up. Stormwater will be put to wayside. Streets will be put down. Folks, we have to look at this foundation, what this town was built upon. Property, bringing businesses into here, maintaining the services. Again, I would love to see us purchase this property, but I do not feel at this time that this is going to be a time that we need to do this, because we have some needs that need to be addressed, so severe needs. So it was an exciting thing at first to see and hear about it, but there's some other things that we need to take into consideration as well. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner King, you have any additional comments?
Yes, I'm going to go back a little bit. Maybe I'll be repeating myself from November meeting, but first of all, I want to speak to transparency, that we've been criticized for not being transparent in this process. Well, the statutes of North Carolina require, until we have a contract that is public, we can't deal with this thing in open session, and that didn't occur till November. And it wasn't even on the agenda in November, and I brought it up under commissioner comments because that was the first time we could talk about this publicly. So let's clear that up. Second point I want to make, and something to Jim's comment, we've got 2 wildlife ramps. Yep, and going to have 3, but we've got 470 passes on Manatee and 130 passes in Bayshore. The people, I've been putting boats in water all of my life, and you just go to a public boat ramp at 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, and you'll see why we have something here. The Bayshore site that we have, I originally tried to talk to Mr. McLean about getting that site, and he made an arrangement with the Bayshore Homeowners Association, and later on he sold it to the Bayshore 9, who have operated it admirably for 16 years now, 17 years. I've made the arrangements with Mrs. Holtz for the Manatee site, and that is correct. We do have 11 years to go on our current lease agreement. The other available sites to us are the 307 Bayshore, which is right adjacent to our pier. That has problems with subaquatic vegetation, and I talked to the McLeans on that, and they will not sell it to us. We have another possible site of the old abandoned boat ramp, which is privately owned by Mrs. Holtz, and she just redeveloped that into, got a subdivision approval for over in that place, and she will not sell us that. And she was unequivocal, both tonight and when I talked to her 5 years ago, that she would never sell the Manatee site to the town. So we got 11 years to go on the ramp. I've contacted all the owners of these sites, and that's where we stand. And it is correct, several people pointed out that this board voted unanimously to have Zach look into buying property. If I had been able, or the town had been able, to negotiate a long-term extension of the lease or purchase of the Manatee Street, we wouldn't be here tonight. There would be no point in us doing that, because the Manatee Street, along with the Bayshore thing, has served us admirably for 16 years. One other thing I want to point out, that like crazy now.
You guys, Mike.
There. Okay, that's better. I want to point out that a lot of people didn't understand, because when I called all the people that spoke at our last meeting publicly, and they said, well, people can't run a boat ramp in the town because it's a commercial entity. This is, we've been running Bayshore for 16 years as a private entity. So our ordinance does provide for it being run by the town or run by a private entity. I'm just afraid that if it's run by a private entity, it won't include all the citizens of the Cape Carteret, and that's exactly what Bayshore does. They sell it to people in the neighborhood and maybe some other people. So of all the properties, the only one is available, and this will be sold if we don't act on it. And as far as any other waterfront property being available 11 years down the road, I doubt it. I think this is the only chance we're going to get. And I want to make a couple comments. I would have no plans to do anything to this site, maybe bulkhead it, but no plans to do anything to this site until we see what happens with the other properties that are around here. But if we do nothing at all and wait 11 years and go looking for property, we're going to have to look somewhere outside of town because there won't be any here. All right. And these are my reasons why we should buy this now. One, because it won't be here 11 years from now. This property, I am told, will be sold in the early spring. The cost per acre, if you compare this property, the Lejeune property, with the Bayshore property, it's comparable in price. The Bayshore property was bought some years ago. This Lejeune per acre is a little bit more expensive, but it's comparable in price. Getting the property now is to ensure we have a place to put a ramp if we can't successfully negotiate anything more out of Bayshore, and buying it is totally out of the question. I would also entertain purchasing the Bayshore property if it came up for sale. That would make even a better ramp site than the site that we have, and maybe at some point in time that'll be available. But if we have nothing, we have no bargaining at the end of the road. I would also make a park at the lower end and a ramp on the other end when we got to it, but nothing has to be done until we have to. The other thing that makes this property attractive, if we wanted to keep the lower half of it and make a park out of that, we could sell the upper half as a residential. It's got plenty of property. We could sell it as a shorefront lot and get most of our money back. And the money, while we're holding this property, is going to appreciate far faster than the savings account we have with, I guess it's Wells Fargo now. Financing. We have, as of about 30 days ago, $571,000 in undesignated reserves. The reason I suggested half down and finance it over 3 years at 2.5% is to lessen the interest payments on it. But we have $571,000 in reserves, and we could afford to pay that and pay the rest down over a period of time, and we wouldn't need to have that tax increase. So, in summary, let me make a comment. If the town passes on the opportunity to purchase a Lejeune property for a waterfront park or a launch site, it will be sold, and the residents of Bayshore will have no opportunity to input on the sale or its use. It is obvious that 600 boat ramp passes issued for the 2 currently operated sites is evidence of the popularity of private boat access by our residents. The Manatee site will not be an option beyond our current lease agreement, and it is unlikely that the use of Bayshore site will be made available to all of our town residents. Looking forward, it would be regrettable for Cape Carteret, a community of over 190 waterfront properties, to be unable to offer boat access to its residents in perpetuity. Other than boat heading, no changes other than the normal maintenance of the property need to be made until our Manatee Street lease expires in 10 years. Before us tonight, we have an opportunity to invest in the future of Cape Carteret without a tax increase. Our option to purchase a property expires on December 31st of this year. It is my strongest recommendation that we purchase a property for the future benefit of our town and its residents. Thank you.
Mayor, I have one more comment I had to Commissioner King's comment, if I will.
Go right ahead, Steve.
Commissioner King was wrong on one of his comments when he stated that the property owned by the McLeans on Bayshore was not for sale. It is for sale. I spoke to one of the McLeans. They did price it to Mr. King for a certain amount of money. I won't go into that. So he's wrong in saying that. And I wanted to correct that. Thank you.
All right, so without any, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
When I talked to him, and then he's changed his mind in the last 2 months, because when I talked to him, it was not for sale. He quoted a price if he was going to sell it. I'll tell you what it was. It was $500,000.
Well, that's what he said. He did quote you a price, Mike, of $500,000 to purchase the property. I verified that with him. I won't go into any other details of our conversation.
Any more comments? If not, we'll do a vote. All right, Commissioner Martin.
No.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
Commissioner Nalens.
No.
Commissioner Miller.
On the motion as presented, no.
Commissioner Waters. All right, that motion failed. 1-4. Is there another motion?
I would like to ask this right here to Zach before I make this motion. The property that's the extra property that was for $1,000 at the end of June, is that permissible for a nice little picnic area for the residents as well?
Yeah, I believe it would be suitable for. I believe it would be suitable for that purpose. You know, I think it's a fairly good size track there at the street end. Let me see. Pull up the survey on the screen. Yeah, so it would encompass that area from around where that fence is at Lejeune Road, from that point to the water. So pretty good size. It's 0.16 acres.
It's 1.6 acres?
0.16.
0.16.
0.16.
Okay, so it is suitable for a picnic area.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it would be suitable for a picnic table among other uses, like we have at the other town parks. I think it would be suitable for that.
Then I would like to make a motion that we purchase that piece of property for $1,000.
We would still have to repair the bulkhead at the end of that, or replace the bulkhead at the end of that property, wouldn't we?
I think so.
Yes.
We would?
Yeah.
Zach wasn't buying that little piece there contingent on us buying the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna cut that loose.
Oh, okay, well then
I don't blame him.
The email
Yeah.
I saw where he contacted us, I think you all got the same email, that was all or nothing.
Okay, I understand. I retract that motion.
Yeah, what I'll say is that legally the two items are separate and not contingent. From an ethical standpoint, we discussed the purchase of the street end and the subject property at the same time, and that's what the negotiations were based off of. So I would just put that out there, that we are under two separate contracts. However, both parcels were discussed with the seller at the same time, with the assumption, I believe, on the seller's part that we would buy both or not buy either of them.
Okay, thank you very much, Zach. I retract that motion, Mr. Mayor, and then we can move forward on the other one.
All right, Commissioner King has a comment.
Yeah, on Commissioner Miller's motion, he said he wouldn't approve the motion. Was it with regard to the financing? I just proposed a cheaper financing option, and I thought we could do with the original, which was pay $50,000 down and finance it over 5 or 6 years.
Mike, I think somebody else would have to make that motion.
I understand that. I'm guessing Commissioner Miller. I can't make that motion.
I will make the motion that we approve going forward with this as originally presented to us with I believe it was $50,000 or $51,000 down and the rest finance, not 50%. I would make that motion.
I would second that.
All right, so we have a second on it. We want to discuss this further.
I do.
Go ahead. Start with you, Steve.
I'm sorry, Mayor. I put the cart before the horse. Been a long night.
I understand.
Well, we're still stuck with a 1.56 tax increase, Commissioner Miller. So that's, and in light of our needs, as Commissioner Waters pointed out, and myself, going forward, it would make our budget process, I fear, another tax increase just to supply police vehicles, paving, and whatnot. So I'd be a no on that motion also.
All right, Jim, you got any more comments on this motion? Cut your mic.
I think that's extra.
Okay, all right. Commissioner Waters.
Got no comments.
All right, Commissioner Miller, you want to add your comments?
I don't have any further comments, no. I think I've said.
Okay, Commissioner King.
Yes, I'll make a couple comments on the original motion I made was to pay less than interest, is all it was for. We have $571,000 in undesignated reserves that aren't committed to anything. That is what the purpose of reserves are, to when big projects, capital projects come up, to put that money against it so we don't have to have an ongoing tax increase for all of the people in the town. And I feel quite certain if we dip into those reserves at $571,000, we could do this. We could buy the property outright if we voted to do that. And then that would and it would be over and done with. There'd be no tax increase, and we could build our undesignated reserves back up. So I'm supportive of this project either way.
All right.
Mayor Baker, can I add one more thing, please?
Yes, go ahead, Steve.
I think in regards to Commissioner King advocating dipping into reserves, let's not forget the criticism we gave a former board for dipping in the same reserves and buying a fleet of police cars. So I don't want to be hypocritical on this. I'm gonna be a no.
All right, so without any more comments, we'll do a roll call vote. I'll start with Commissioner Naylor.
No.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
Commissioner Martin.
No.
Commissioner Waters.
No.
And Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
All right, that motion failed 3-2. So is there any other motion anyone would like to make to give the staff direction? Anybody?
What's the question?
Would anybody like to make a motion
I
to
move-
give staff direction on what to do with this? To pursue it, kill it?
Well, I think that
Let's kill it.
both motions to purchase the property failed. I think Zach knows what to do.
Zach, you need any more direction?
No, I think that's satisfactory there, and so we'll allow the contract to expire on December 31st, and that'll conclude that project.
Okay, I just want to make sure there was no other motions before we lay this to rest. All right, with that being said, we're moving on to commissioner comments. I'll start with Mr. Waters tonight.
I'd just like to commend Zach. He has worked very diligently and very hard with the information pertaining to the property of June Road, also the other things going within the town. I commend him and the staff, Heather and is it Barbara? The new
Barbara, yes.
Barbara at front, and I really appreciate that, and also the finance director back there. We thank you so much. And the Public Works Police Department, great job on what y'all doing, assisting the town's functions. Thank you, everybody, for what you're doing. That's all I have to say.
All right, Commissioner King, comments?
No comments.
All right. Commissioner Nalens.
No comments. Well, one. Remind me with the knuckle boom truck. I hope that we can increase the number of yard waste collections during this coming year.
All right, Commissioner Martin.
Well, yes, I have a couple of comments here for our town manager. Zach, the last meeting, I asked you to provide the board with paving priority list, culvert inspections, prioritize any paving projects and whatnot. I know that's going to require some thinking on your part. Any idea when you can get back to the board on those requests? And also, Zach, I think it's very important that you keep the Board of Commissioners updated on the progress of the Starbucks in regards to the planning board and Commissioner King's request. I'm hoping you will keep us informed. I for one, would like to know the progress step by step that's being made on that project. Thank you.
Commissioner Miller.
This past year, it's been a really trying year on everybody. And I just, excuse me, I just want to personally thank the mayor, the town manager, and all the staff for everything you've done to keep this town going forward. I hope 2021 looks a lot better for us. I mean, it's not looking like it's over the horizon, but I just want to thank all of you, for everyone, for all the work you've done to keep this town going forward. And there's no way we'd be here without you. And I certainly appreciate it. And I think that this town citizens do. And I appreciate, like I said, the mayor, the manager, the staff, the police department, all of you, every one of you. I'm proud of every single one of you. And I think the citizens of this town are too. So let's keep our heads up, and hopefully 2021 will be better for us. That's all I've got.
All right, thank you, Don. Well, I've just got a few things I'd like to say. Number one, I'd like to echo everybody's compliments about the staff, especially Zach, because we wouldn't be having these meetings. And as frustrating as this is, to be blunt, this sucks. This really sucks. I can't stand this. This just tears me up. It's like I'm trying to run a 3-ring circus in here, but I'm doing it because this is what we need to do so the citizens can have a chance to get in here and speak their mind to us, the ones that don't have the ability to get on the internet. I'm willing to put up with that. I'm just hoping that the next year will be great. I want to have some special meetings with the board. I'm going to challenge you guys for us to meet more often and to discuss the things. I'd like to see us create a stormwater program. I'm looking across the water there and I see what the town of Emerald Isle doing. I think we need to be pursuing that. Most towns have stormwater programs. Our size, we're a new town. We're sort of trying to figure it out, but we got to get started. And on that stormwater program, that's very important. We need to get a unified development ordinance in here so we can upgrade get our planning board leaped into this new century as well. A lot of things we need to be doing. I want you guys to be thinking about it as a board and citizens as well. I cannot express how proud I am of the citizens that come here to speak their voice, the ones that are online right now, that are involved and want to be involved. And I encourage that involvement. Whether you're for something or against it, it doesn't matter. Speak your voice, because we don't know how to respond if we don't hear from you, the people. So with that said, let's just hope next year is a darn sight better than this one. And I look forward to where we can all meet in here again and get personal with each other, get face to face. And I don't really care much about shaking hands, but we can bump some fists and at least wave at each other and see some expressions, put some humanity back into this thing. Once again, thank you so much to Zach, the office staff here, Public Works, the police department, also our lawyer. He does a great job. I think we've had a lot of issues. And with that, I'm going to entertain a motion to now go into a closed session to discuss personnel matter. Do I have
I'll make that motion.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Okay, we got a second. And now I'll just do a roll call vote. Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner Waters?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Nalitz?
Yes.
All right, we are now going to go into a closed session. We will be back to adjourn if y'all want to stick around for the adjournment. Zach, you direct people where to go and what to do, sir.
Yep, so it'll be the same link that was used to access the meeting earlier in the evening. So same deal as before. Up to the board if y'all want to set a time frame for when we'll be back. Or we can just, it's 8:52 now, so.
Getting hungry.
If we want. I don't know if we want to say 9:45.
Okay. 9, that's a little bit too late, I think. About 9:30. How's that?
9:30.
Yeah, it's not going to take long.
All right, so
Make it
9:30.
I don't know what we're talking about, so I don't know how long it's going to take. So are we talking 10 or 15 minutes, or are we talking 30 minutes?
15 minutes tops. I had assumed that Zach had informed. I assumed that Zach informed the commissioners.
8:55 now, so 9:15, 9:20.
That's good. 9:20.
Is that enough time?
Yeah.
9:20.
All right, see everybody back here at 9:20, and for the commissioners, I'm sending out the link to the closed session. It'll be the same as what I sent out earlier, but I'll send it again just so everybody has that.